Good morning, nuts and bolt listeners and followers. A hearty welcome to our live stream today. And unfortunately, our guest speaker has been indisposed and at very short notice hasn't told me she's not able to do today's talk, which is very unfortunate. And I know many of you are disappointed. I've been looking forward to this talk, but that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. It will just be on another day. So you will have today me talking about a surprise topic, having to think of something quite quickly on my feet. So I thought of something which actually has personally arisen for me this week, where it was questioning when this mid-year slump starts settling in, where you're starting to approach the middle of the year and somehow you realize that nearly half of the year is gone and very quickly the next half year is approaching. So it's very common, and maybe it's because of the season in our country where it's winter and it's cold, where we become a little bit low on energy, performance levels, motivation, and we just don't have that little chutzpah that to get us going and to keep going. So somehow we have the winter blues, and that influences our work. Perhaps also we've only gone through 6 months and powered through 6 months and haven't had a vacation or a proper break. I'm talking a real holiday, no work, no laptop, no thinking, but really being out of your routine and enjoying something totally different. But how do we get through the 6 months that are ahead of us? And maybe June is the time to reflect, to take stock, and to look what is happening. So today I want to talk about the mid-year slump. Think about January. What were your goals that you set then? Have you looked at them since then? Have you progressed in any way with them? What's happened to them? So recently I whipped out my spreadsheet where all my goals for the year were mapped out so beautifully. Some were work-related, some personal, and some for well-being. I scanned through them, and I was pleasantly surprised that perhaps without realizing it, I had actually achieved more goals than I wanted to. And it also made me take stock and become aware of some goals that I hadn't. And that resulted to the question of why not? Did I not have the time? Do I not value them anymore? Or are they not so important anymore? So that made me think of 4 strategies, which I'd like to share with you today. The first one is the assessment. Assessing what your goals were, be that in January or whenever you set them, and taking stock of them, of what did you really plan to do or set out to do, and where are you right now? Have you achieved anything? Have you made progress? So that's really the assessment part and looking at those goals. Because what also happens is that sometimes comes January, we're so super excited, we set some of these hairy, audacious goals, but they're not necessarily realistic. They're not perhaps workable. They're perhaps dreams. So the assessment is really, really critical to start off with. The second one is the reflection part. So this is not about sitting back and beating yourself up for not having achieved those goals, but really to reflect on them, which is what I did, and looking at them and thinking, how much do these goals still hold true to me now in June? Are they really still important for me to achieve? Will they make a difference to me if I have attained them in December? Do I really value them? Do they really matter to me? Or are they just one of those goals that are nice to have, perhaps everybody's striving towards, but aren't really that important to me to invest the time and energy into? So that is very important, because you need to value your goals. Otherwise, there is value incongruency, which creates that conflict amongst goals where you go, I should be doing that, I have to be doing that, but somehow you can't find the motivation. And the minute these words should and would and could and have to arrive in your vocabulary, they are alarm bells to question them and really check if they matter to you. Hence, the value congruency is really, really important. Thirdly, when it comes to the reflection, do you really want to achieve them? Hand on your heart, does it matter to you? Will it really make a difference to you or your business or the people around you? Because to strive towards goals, that means you need to invest energy and time in them, because they don't happen in any other way. So that is where it comes to the reflection. And that is quite an important part of looking at the goals you have achieved and the ones you haven't achieved. And as I say, it's spending some time in there and really not rushing through them, but doing a bit of soul searching and perhaps also listening to that gut of yours to say, yes, maybe, no. And sometimes we have to be brutally honest with ourselves when it comes to the reflection. The third part of the mid-year slump to work on is, if you have established that this goal is actually very important to you and you do want to achieve it, but for some reason you just haven't, and perhaps you looked at others in the meantime, or the timing wasn't right, then the question is, how can I align it or realign this goal? How can I chunk it up into bite sizes or make it more manageable that I actually do achieve it? So here you are saying to yourself, yes, I've tested this goal. I really want to achieve it. It really matters to me. It's not just a dream or something that is a nice to have, but something I deeply desire and value. So I need to realign it and see how I can fit it in. What do I have to do to make it happen? Maybe the question then for you would be, what do I have to say yes to? And what do I have to say no to? So again, really being very honest with yourself and looking at that. And then the fourth one is moving into action. So putting some plan or some strategy together where this happens in bite sizes, because I think that's another big challenge we have when it comes to goals. We just make them sometimes so big to achieve so fast, so quick. And small steps often are the answer. Small, consistent steps are really what makes you get over the line at the end. So the action plan is really, really important. And it feeds into the concept of really finding a new direction. It's just saying, all right, how am I going to find a new way of honoring this? So it honors motivation, it brings in energy, and it says, this hasn't worked so far, so this will. And that fosters the concept of perseverance and resilience, because you are saying to yourself, all right, this hasn't worked so far, so maybe I should try another direction. Because, like they said, there are often many paths to the same outcome. And here you are realizing that the one you have tried so far is just not working. It's very easy to give up when things aren't working or when the going gets tough. But it's really important to get back on the horse if the goal is important to you. So I'll give you an example. I, as many of you know, study for my PhD. It's not always easy. It's a very long-term commitment. So, of course, I have slumps in between, not only in June, but quite regularly, where I do have to use these practical 4 steps I've just shared with you. I have to really assess, am I progressing? And the answer is yes, but exceptionally slow because the journey is a 6-year journey. It's not a very short time period. Do I value it? So I reflect back very often and sit back and say, do I really value this? Does this matter to me? Would I give it up if I could or can? And the answer for me is always no. This is so important to me. I really, really want to achieve this. This matters so intensely to me. And it's something that has been a long dream for me to achieve. So then I sometimes reflect and think, what can I do differently? Because whatever I'm doing right now is perhaps not working. And then I realign it. Very often, because it's such a long period, I put little plans together, which makes it, chunks it down into bite sizes that I can see my progress on either a weekly or definitely monthly basis. So I know where I need to be on a monthly basis. But equally, when it comes to goal setting, be fair, be kind to yourself, because often we are very hard on ourselves. We cut others slack. We are very generous towards other people. But when it comes to ourselves, we are very hard on ourselves. We expect us just to be machines, and we're not. So when you are reaching this mid-year slump, just pause. Just pause and acknowledge what you are feeling right now and why you are feeling it, and reflect about the past 6 months. Take stock and then take a big breath and see June as a comma in a paragraph, not a full stop. It doesn't mean that your goals are not going to happen. It's just maybe let's just pause, let's reevaluate, and then let's find the energy and the motivation to move forward. That often happens, and that takes you through to the end of the year. It's very likely that you'll have the same scenario happening round about October. That is the second common time when people feel tired, exhausted, and just have that low dip. And again, it's because we are not taking regular breaks and have not, seeing where our goals are. Sorry, our power just came back on and it was distracting me for a moment. So have a look at these things, and maybe these 4 short little tips will help you get out of your mid slump and start planning and looking towards the 1st of July with gusto and energy and going, yes, I can do this, I will do this, and I want to do this for myself, because goals are always set and should be set for yourself. Because if you set them for yourself, you're self-motivated and more driven to achieve them. If others ask for goals to be set for you, very often they become a grudge because others have asked you to change them. And the last thing I want to leave you with is to perhaps also be very aware of something called the change process, which is a 6-step process designed by a researcher called Prochaska. And he often speaks about that one achieves one's goals in the final step, but the biggest challenge is the maintenance phase. And then we fall back sometimes into our old habits. And it's acknowledging that we have done so, but understanding the strategies we have used to attain something previously and reflecting on the strengths that we applied and bringing those back again. And an example here is that you might at one stage in your life have been super fit and have trained for a certain event and then suddenly had a slump. But you know you had done it before and you want to get to that level again. So it's reflecting what strengths did you use and accepting that you have the inner resourcefulness to get there. So it's really, really important to be kind on yourself, and to attain goals is a step forward sometimes and a step backwards. It's a dance. It's never a straight line. And I'm sure you have seen some of these images on social media where they have shown that goals are these zigzag lines or these very squiggly lines. And that's exactly what it is. It is not a linear process. And the reason is you are not a machine. You are a human being with feelings and emotions, and your energy fluctuates as things happen. So it's really accepting and embracing that goals happen in sometimes a very zigzag roundabout way. But keep focused. That is the main thing. And always put your hand on your heart and look if this goal really matters to you. And if so, go and conquer it. If it doesn't, give yourself permission to let it go and just leave it. Maybe it will come back another time and maybe it won't. So, dear Nuts and Bolt listeners, that is really what I want to share with you today. The session will be a little bit shorter today, but I wanted to perhaps share these valuable tips for you for towards the end of June, as I'm noticing more and more as I speak with people that their energies have just dipped. So may this give you the booster to reflect over your goals and start looking towards boosting them and achieving them, as I say, with gusto and energy and motivation from the 1st of July onwards. Next week, we'll either have a guest speaker or I'll be speaking myself. We are not sure yet because of today's unforeseen situation. So I will keep you posted on our Facebook page or LinkedIn pages. So please stay tuned and look what's going to be discussed next week. I thank you so much for tuning in today, and I'm sorry for the disappointment, but I hope you did get something out of today's very quick, random, ad hoc talk and unexpected talk. Thank you so much for all your loyal support, for listening, your comments, your likes, your shares. I deeply appreciate them. They keep me motivated. They make me get up on a Friday with excitement, looking forward to this time and tuning in with you. Have an amazing weekend. Take care and look after yourself. Goodbye.